Hi, everybody. This is Jim Safran with Pure Vintage Media, and welcome to our podcast. Recently, I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Richard Cloete, noted Harvard computer scientist, a member of Avi Loeb's research team for the Galileo Project, and a Laukien-Oumuamua postdoctoral research fellow at Harvard University's Center for Astrophysics. We talked about a lot of things, including 3i Atlas, which seems to be of interest to everybody these days. So I hope you enjoy this interview. And now, Dr. Richard Cloete. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pure Vintage Media. And we're really honored to have Dr. Richard Cloete from Harvard. He's a computer scientist, and he is currently a member of the Galileo Project team, I think headed by Avi Loeb. Um, a team that really has gotten a lot of visibility recently with their research, most recently into interstellar visitors to our solar system, and the most recent one being 3i Atlas, and hopefully we can get an update on that. Um, uh, Richard's background is really in computer science, so that is taking observations of anomalous objects and trying to create data sets to clear kind of, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but to filter out the noise and then have a clean data set that you can refer to as to what some of these unexplainable objects are. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, at the Galileo Project, one of my roles there, I wear many hats, but one of the roles there as a computer scientist is building AI models that are able to operate on the data coming from our different cameras and be able to uh, essentially detect anything that's in the sky moving and track them. And then with that data, then we can add it to other data sets and mix it up and build larger data sets. All this to improve the model's performance. So it's logically correct what you said, yes.
Okay, so you see an object, it's important for you to be able to determine with these data sets that you've created, well, we know this one, this is a bird, this is a plane, uh, this one we can't explain. So it goes into a different category. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, well, that's the goal, the end goal. It's a long road to get to that point where we're able to actually pull out objects from the images and say, hey, that's not supposed to be there. What is this? At the moment, we are looking at, first of all, refining our detection capabilities. That's the first step in this process. Just being able to detect anything that's in the sky, then being able to track it. So each detection counts as a data point that goes into a track, a trajectory. And then you can analyze the trajectories and you can say, okay, well, we've only got the 2D motion on the image. So what can we learn from that? Is there anything interesting? And then we've only just recently got the capability to do triangulation. It's not up and yet and running, but the basic principle is that you have two or more cameras at different locations, three or more cameras at different locations, and they're all looking at the same object and tracking it. And then from that, you can extract kinematics. You can figure out how large the object is, how far away it is, what's its velocity, and that gives you another data point. And using that, we will eventually be able to figure out, in addition to like the data from the pixels, what it looks like on the image, we'll be able to figure out really, is it something that shouldn't be there? Because a lot of these things we find are actually, uh, it might look unknown or weird on an image, but it's really hard to know whether it is actually something truly anomalous because, let's give you an example. Uh, a bird far away uh, will be a small little white dot on our frames, and it could be moving slowly, but it could perform some really weird maneuvers, and we won't be able to see the flapping of the wings, so we don't know that it is a bird, but we can kind of infer that it's a bird purely because of its motion. But then an airplane might be far away and it'll move like in a relatively straight line. It'll also be a white dot. You won't be able to see wings. So a lot of the time, things are quite far away from our cameras. They're just white dots, and we don't have enough information to make a conclusive um, uh, analysis of what it might be. So that's why we're really excited about the triangulation coming online, because that's gonna help us a lot in figuring out these, like, what are these white dots.
That's been a barrier for you, hasn't it? That's the holy grail of of your analysis, is it not?
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's kind of the holy grail for you. You've been trying to tackle the triangulation of these objects to be able to get a better analysis of what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's right. Because you could look at a bird on a 2D trajectory and say, okay, it's doing something weird. But really, unless you know how large that object is, how fast it's going, and how far away it is, you can't put a proper label on it unless you have a really good resolution image and you can see the wings flapping and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Interesting. And so you use a number of technologies. I know you're using photography, you're using infrared cameras, uh, acoustic sensors, uh, RF magnetometers, and charged particle counters to determine this or to create this analysis. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, all the instruments. We also have visual cameras, both infrared and visual.
Got it. Okay. Give me if you don't mind, would you just give a quick synopsis for the audience of the Galileo Project? It's probably a name they've seen on numerous YouTube videos, right? But give us a quick synopsis and really what your actual role is
Mhm.
on the
Yeah,
team.
sure. Well, the Galileo Project is a scientific project based out of Harvard. The the aim is essentially to deploy scientific quality calibrated instrumentation to various sites, as many as we can, as many as we can afford, and to collect data to observe our sky and immediate environment. And the aim there is to determine whether we are observing anything unusual, anything that is unconventional. So UAP, for example, there's been a lot of buzz in the media about UAP. We've seen the congressional hearings where high-ranking officials are testifying under oath. We've had this UAP Disclosure Act, which was through Congress, being pushed as well. So there's a lot of things happening in the UAP space, and people have questions. They want to know what's going on. You also have these regular drone incursions. Not too long ago, we had a massive wave of what they were calling drones over New Jersey. And then I think last month it was all over Europe, shutting down airports. Um, and so the Galileo Project is really just trying to answer the question, what are we seeing? And doing that through data and science. We're not putting any labels on the thing, on what we're observing. We're not trying to make any assumptions. We want to do everything methodically and scientifically, and let the data speak for itself.
Unfortunately, the media wants to go to the extreme, correct? I mean, most of the times that you see a follow-up to one of Avi's interviews, uh, they want to make a headline saying he's saying that it's an interstellar craft, intelligent. But when you look at what he is proposing, it really is just keep an open mind. We don't know. And the worst thing I think the science community can do is to make assumptions based on a bias, there's probably a better term for it, but a bias that confirms what they've always believed. We don't know. The universe space is so large. There's so much that we're going to learn still with, especially with the Vera Rubin telescope, which kind of gives it's a wider view of the viewable universe than perhaps the Webb telescope. Correct? I mean, that's kind of more of a narrow view of what we're looking at.
Yeah, well, the Very Rubin telescope is a lot more powerful than existing telescopes. It's only recently come online, and you can kind of imagine, let's say you have you go, it's nighttime, you go outside, and it's dark, of course, and you can see something at the back of your garden. You can't quite see what it is. You get your torch out and you shine it, and suddenly you can see a bunch of things. That could be one of our telescopes, that previous ones. And then you think, oh, I'm sure there's something else out there. I can hear some noise. What's out there? You can't really see it. So you go inside, you fetch a brighter torch. This is the Vera Rubin telescope, and you shine it, and suddenly a huge number of objects light up in front of you, much further back into your garden than with the other torch. And that's what we're going to be seeing with the Vera Rubin, so much deeper and further into space than we could before. And that, that presents a huge number of challenges in and of itself, because we've built up all these catalogs of objects over the decades. We know where this is and where that is, and now suddenly we're going to get a whole lot of new data points in addition to the ones that we already have, of objects that are being tracked, and this is going to overwhelm our ability to um, process the data in a timely fashion. So there's going to be a lot of challenges around actually discovering things, because one real possibility is that even though telescopes might, or the Vera Rubin might see an object, let's say it sees another interstellar object, the trick there is to actually find that needle in the haystack, find that that interstellar object in that data, and that's not easy.
It's not easy, no. Do you find that um, do you find that 3i Atlas has kind of taken over Galileo, has gotten most of the headlines, or is it really still a subset of what you're doing?
It hasn't taken over. Our core mission has always been build these instrumentation, deploy them, calibrate them, and whatnot. The 3i Atlas is something that came along, and has helped generate a lot of media attention, I think. Um, but it's the interstellar branch of the Galileo project is really very separate. It's basically myself, Avi, and maybe a couple other people who are helping on the side there, looking for interstellar objects. Uh, but the rest of the core team is all dedicated purely on instrumentation and Galileo stuff.
How did you come into the Galileo project, if you don't mind me asking? What
Sure.
path did you take for that? You were born in Cape Town, correct?
Yes, I was born in Cape Town in South Africa. Moved over to the UK when I was 20, and then was there for almost 20 years in the UK. My mother's British, so I had a British passport, so I had the easy ride over.
Right.
Um, and then, I've always been interested in UAP, or UFOs as it was previously called. And I, would- I was following the subject closely. I go through waves where sometimes I'm watching, sometimes I'm not, because there's a lot of noise in the UAP world, and it can be quite tiring. So I go through these ups and downs of interest, and it was in my up period when I was watching the media, and because I already knew all the characters in that space, um, it caught my attention when Avi popped up, and so I had been watching Avi for a while, and then uh, he he wrote an article in Scientific American, and in Scientific American he described essentially the framework for the Galileo project, deploying instruments to the ground. The sky is not classified, as Avi likes to say. Let's just take a look. And that struck me uh, um, quite hard, because just a couple of years previously, actually while I was at Cambridge University in the UK, I had been thinking about the same thing, about some sort of network of instrumentation, but I was just a small-time postdoc. I didn't have any funding. I didn't have any name behind me. I knew that there's no ways that I could possibly get the kind of traction and attention that's required. So when I saw what Avi had proposed, I thought, wow, that, Avi can do it. So I'm gonna reach out. Actually, in the beginning, I didn't want to reach out. I was thinking, he's a big professor at Harvard. He's not going to care about me. What's the point in emailing him? And my wife was like, no, 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 go email him, just try. Okay. So I'm begrudgingly, typing out that email. thinking nothing's going to happen. And then, like a few hours later, or the next morning, Avi gets back to me, and he tells me that he's going to have some talks coming up, and he might be able to secure some funding, and I should reach out to him in a couple of weeks or so. If he doesn't reach out to me first. And then I think a couple of days went by, and then he reached out to me and said, "Okay, we're on. Do you want to get involved?" Obviously, as a volunteer at this point. Um, and then eventually, some funding at Harvard opened up, so I was able to apply for a fellowship. And at that point, once my fellowship, you had to write like a proposal and everything. Once that's all approved and done, then it was basically with my wife, our bags and laptops, and on a plane over to Boston, Massachusetts.
That's a wonderful story. People just assume you, through some connection, you land there, but you actually made a phone call or wrote an email. Um, People don't do much of that anymore.
Yeah.
It's still a very effective way of reaching out to people. It's kind of how I reached out to you. I knew I was never going to get an interview with Avi, but I was just as interested in his team, and you were gracious enough with your time to agree to talk to us, and that's just wonderful. The um, Tell me a little. Let's just go. You, you started a company called SEAQR, which is now called Freaking Aliens. Am I correct there?
Yeah, Seeker Aliens, sorry, the Seeker was a previous startup, and so this new one now is Freaking Aliens. Um, it's a bit of a weird name. I know people are, what do you mean Freaking Aliens? Well, the backstory there is uh, sometimes my wife and I get a little frustrated. For example, we put our keys on the table and walk away, and next minute they're gone. Like, where are they? And we go like freaking aliens, or you go to the fridge and you grab the milk, and then you come back a few minutes later, and the fridge door's open, and like, well, I forgot to close the fridge, you know, and we always want someone to blame other than ourselves. We going, it's the aliens, blame the aliens, and so my wife actually came up with the name and just called it freaking aliens.
Love it.
There's a adult version of that as well. I won't say it on air. Um,
Okay.
but basically, we're building a situational awareness network. So you can imagine a global situational awareness network, plug and play, modular. Um, you can purchase a unit, a system that consists of cameras, ADS-B for tracking aircraft, some other sensors, and you put it down wherever you want. It's got onboard AI, and it will automatically start detecting and tracking and characterizing objects in the air or on the ground. Um, and the AI can be updated over the network. So, for example, maybe you want to track drones. You could deploy it somewhere, and it'll do that. It'll track drones. Or you want to be able to tell if somebody is approaching your house. You could do the same thing. It's just a swap of the AI model. Or monitoring crops at a farm. Um, there's a lot of different applications to it. It can extend to the marine environment as well. So you could put it on your yacht or your boat to help you detect any sort of debris that might be in your path. It's still early stages. It's been about a couple of months. We've got a prototype almost ready, and we're looking at maybe the end of the year to have a full minimal viable product ready. One where you essentially deploy the instrument off grid, maybe without power, so just a solar panels, a Starlink network connection, switch it on, and then you start getting alerts on your phone or on your dashboard or on the website. Um, so yeah, it's coming along really well, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a different approach. Typically, commercial products are the byproduct of a research project, basically coming from the scientific community, and then somebody decides to create a commercial product. I would think with funding issues, you've taken a different approach where you want to maybe make this kind of a Trojan horse using a commercial product that will further the research that you're doing with, say, Galileo. Um, that's just my thought in looking at what you're doing, and I applaud you. It's funding for startups is always an issue, and before you know it, you can lose control of what you've created. And there's just numerous stories of people that were good at creating a business, creating a product, and then really not knowing how to run the business, which is another talent.
Mhm.
So if I look at this, and you did have a prototype, can you show a prototype? You,
Sure, I can hold it up.
yeah. All right. I don't think
It's
anybody will copy it.
That's all right. It's
Then I
just give me a second here. So
yeah.
it's not
Oh my
it's
God,
not
that's a big
polished or
book.
anything yet. Yeah, it's
So that can be terrestrial and sit in the water as well.
no, not yet. It's not
Okay.
yet weatherized.
Okay.
But it's all 3D printed basically. It's got the pan-tilt zoom camera at the top here, the computers at the bottom. It's got some other sensors in the middle compartment here. It's really heavy, so I'm going to put it down now if you don't
Okay,
mind.
please.
Um,
Before you drop it.
yeah, and you can access it remotely as well, so you can get a live view of the camera feed. But yeah, it'll you can. The idea is really just put it anywhere. We want anybody to be able to know what's going on around them
Right.
or at a location. Um, and you're right, it really does come from the concept of the Galileo Project. It's in a lot of ways it's very similar to my original idea that I mentioned earlier about the network of sensors, which I was thinking of before I joined the Galileo Project. Um, what we've seen with the Galileo project is it's expensive to deploy these really high-end calibrated instruments. You have not just the instruments themselves, are really very pricey, but you also have maintenance fees, storage fees, electricity fees, network fees,
Yeah.
rent. Sometimes you have to pay rent for the sites. You have these additional fees on the side, like when something goes wrong, somebody might have to fly out there, and then they have hotel as well, or rent a car, and all these things add up, and so it makes it difficult to scale as much as we would need to do a proper, really thorough scientific investigation. And Avi is doing an amazing job at raising funds. Um, which are all private, by the way. He's not received any government funding here. It's all private, which is phenomenal because it really shows as well that they believe in his work and they're supporting him and they're actually willing to put down the money to further the research, which is incredible. But what I'm hoping to do here is to build a smaller scale system, ones that can be um, also complementary to the Galileo project. So you can imagine a lower cost network of these things that maybe
Hmm.
UAP enthusiasts could purchase and deploy. They could maybe share the data back with us through a network. There could be some sort of reward system built into it for that.
Yeah.
A citizen science kind of like project, but it also has a range of commercial applications. And the reason for these commercial applications is really to help fund not just the research and development of these instrumentation, but also to be able to get to a point where we're able to support perhaps other research organizations like the Galileo Project or the Soul Foundation or
Well founded.
whomever,
Yes.
because we can't sit around waiting for the government to come clean or any government to come clean. Remember, these things are observed and have been observed across the world, not just in the US. And we can't expect the military or the government or anyone else to come out and say, okay, here's the body, here's the craft. You guys, sorry, we've been lying for the last 80 years or whatever. Uh, how
So
bad?
you got
It's
you
not.
have a government that can't even stay open. You got a military that's got a background in secrecy, so you're not sure what you would get from that. So you've
Yeah.
really created if this is brilliant, you can create an open source community. I like the idea of reward system. That's almost like blockchain a little bit. Um, but I could see these things being deployed um, uh, to anybody, to being able to make a commercial project or a product and deploy it amongst everybody. You said UAP enthusiasts, the scientific community. That's brilliant. And then you end up creating a really worthy data set using AI. Am I on right track here? What you're
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. It never goes that route. It always goes in the opposite direction. And even thinking about the beginnings of the internet, commercial internet came out of research, came out of DARPA,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure that when you look at the internet today that was a successful way to go. Who knows? But that's brilliant. I love it. So at some point you'll have a beta program and you'll be making these available for purchase.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. Yeah. And
Wonderful.
we're also looking to, well, I should back up and say, in addition to like building this network and collecting this and building these data sets, what I'm seeing is like, we know we're not going to get help from the government, but
Right.
when I speak with people in the UAP community, I see that there's a lot of potential there, a lot of talent, and we have the skills, we have the ability, and we probably have the resources. There are some wealthy people out there. We could do it ourselves. We can
Yeah.
figure out, we can answer these questions ourselves. We don't have to sit around waiting for the government or someone else to come and tell us, what to believe. I mean, they've been doing that for long enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see what that's netted. Right.
yeah. So uh, I also want to encourage people who either have a business or are thinking of starting a business that are interested in the UAP community to think, how can I help, you know, with my company that I'm going to build in the future or I have right now. And that could be through equipment, it could be through uh, training, it could be through access to software, hardware, whatever, direct funds. And ultimately, I think we should develop, and which is what I'm going to try and build, is kind of like an ecosystem of UAP friendly founders, if you like.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, because I really think that we have everything we need just to do the scientific investigation ourselves without having to wait for anyone else to tell us.
Yeah, and it really is noteworthy of what Avi's been able to do with donations, but that can dry up at any time. You enter into a recession, and those funds aren't available anymore. Um, and it is amazing what you guys have been able to do with private donations. But in the end, I think that's a cleaner way to go, not having the government involved, certainly not having the military involved. I think it's a much better way to go. I'm really excited about that. So have you steered away a little bit from a focus on the ocean, and you're trying to think in a broader sense where these could be deployed, correct?
Yeah, the ocean is very close to my heart, growing up in Cape Town, and I would really love to get more involved and in the ocean aspect, developing sensors for monitoring the oceans. There's so much happening at sea that we have no idea actually what's going on out there. More than 70% of the planet is covered with water, and for the most part, th- it's a desert, a wet desert.
Yeah.
There's buoys floating around, there's some fishing vessels, there's some military activity, but we don't have any idea what's happening in the middle of the ocean at any given point in time. Um, we have very little monitoring of below the waves as well. And so ultimately, the pipeline that we're building here, the technology that we're building, it will be completely transferable to any domain, whether that's in space, the marine environment, or on land. It'll be the same simple data processing pipeline and the ability to switch out different models. So ultimately, I hope that we can get back into the marine environment. Perhaps our MVP will be weatherized to the point that it'll be suitable for going on yachts, and we'd find a route in there as well. It's just really a case of finding the right customers.
Right.
And if the customer is marinas to start with, then that's what we'll go with.
Are you familiar with retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet?
Yes, he's a good friend. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so he must be really fascinated by what you're doing here.
yeah, he's very supportive. Very. I mean, the ocean is his life, you know. So
Right.
it's very exciting for him to hear about what we're doing.
And the other one that I wanted to ask you about was Beatrice Villarola.
Hmm.
Roel. Do
Yeah,
you know her as well?
I do. Yes, yeah, friends of
She's
her as
doing some
well.
very interesting research and published some interesting papers recently.
Yes, she just recently had some work come out, published. So big congratulations to her on that.
Yeah. Um, oh wow, there's so much that I want to ask you. Um, why, aside from the whole issue about orthodoxy, why is there seems to be an industry lately in trying to dispute not only the reputation of Avi and Galileo, but trying to dispute any of the findings that you've come out with. I mean, when you think about what's unusual about Three Eye Atlas, it's, I mean, it's unlike any other quote comet, interstellar meteor, even that we've seen before. Why do you think that's happening? Why do you think that there's a whole, if you go on YouTube, you've got people that want to take it all the way to the extreme and say, even coming up with doctored images saying, see, here's the spacecraft, which you guys have never really said that. What you've always said is keep an open mind and don't rely on your past biases. And yet there seems to be a real effort to try and drag the program down into the mud. And I'm wondering, is that calculated? Is that just human nature? What do you think's going on there? I saw one, I just tell you that I watched one video where the gentleman was trying to dispute the most recent findings. And I think it was from his Medium article that he wrote. And I'm looking at the gentleman's credentials, and he has a bachelor's in photography. And he's quoting astronomers from, not that there's anything wrong with Uruguay, but astronomers from Uruguay. And I'm thinking, you guys are at Harvard. I mean, if I'm going to listen to some reason, I'm going to be listening to people from Harvard. Sorry. Why do you think that's going on?
I think it. I don't think it's a coordinated effort. There might be some elements to try and do that, but my personal opinion is that the media wants to sell clicks. So
Yeah,
they take Albie's message, which is exactly as you said, really just to keep an open mind. One day something might come out, might cross our paths, and it might truly be anomalous. But if we keep going, oh, it's a rock, it's a rock, it's a rock, we're going to miss it. You know, we could miss the most profound moment of human history just because of our own biases. It's a rock, and
yeah,
the media don't want to hear the other astronomers saying, "Oh, it's just a rock." You know, they want to hear it's an alien spaceship. It's gonna just it's on a collision course with Earth. They're gonna land here and take over and eat us, or all sorts of anything that can scare people or sound fantastic. They want to put those headlines out, and so they see Avi saying it could be a spaceship. And he's not saying that it is a spaceship. He's just saying we have to have a look. You know, there's lots of
yes,
anomalies, and if we ignore all these anomalies, and if we just simply make assumptions, say, okay, well, yes, it's a little bit anomalous, but it's probably just blah, and not do a proper investigation, we're not going to have the answers we need to be able to make a definitive decision about whether or not it is actually something unusual, whether or not it is not a rock. And the media, because Avi puts in these these statements that it could be a a spaceship, or it could be technological or whatever, they automatically run with that, and they drop the could, you
Right.
know, and it is a spaceship, or a Harvard professor is now saying that the aliens are going to come and eat us or something, and it's completely absurd, and it infuriates me that some of my colleagues, like astronomers or other scientists, they'll come and they'll say, ah. Are we saying that that's technology or it's UFOs and like that? Because it's just telling me that even these people they're just looking at the headlines. They're not actually looking deeper into it. What is actually are we actually saying? They're not listening to his podcasts and his interviews and trying to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. They're just getting these little snippets on X or LinkedIn or wherever it is, or on tabloid newspapers, and running with that. And I think what happens is you have the media generating all this hyperbole, this content about the end of the world and aliens destroying us, and then you have bloggers, photographers, and other people who want to try and get onto the bandwagon, and they and try and build up uh, their own public profile. And so they put out articles, or they tweet, and they try and go against the grain. It might be these people just want to gain attention for themselves, but there also might be some people who just want to play devil's advocate or are being paid. I don't know, but I think it's kind of a mixed bag of things, but primarily driven by the media and their obsession with scaring everyone.
Which really comes down to it's the same algorithms that for the most part Facebook spends billions on to get everybody to argue with each other.
Yep.
So it's really about clicks and then selling obnoxious advertising against those clicks, which
Mhm.
is really sad when it's a topic this exciting, and it really is exciting. Oumuamua was just fascinating. I mean, I that the fact that we weren't really able to see it until it was gone or really start to analyze it,
Mhm.
and now we have the ability to look at something that's equally as interesting, maybe not um, quite, I mean, Oumuamua was something really bizarre, but to be able to see something in real time, um, and then to dismiss it as hysteria is really very, very sad. And I'm glad you guys are out. You're in the trenches, to be quite honest. You're in the trenches digging up this stuff, and people ought to be a little bit more grateful for that. Can we just talk about real quickly some of the anomalies that you've seen with this object?
With
Uh,
3i Atlas.
yeah, there's two or three that are really I mean, the one that really fascinates me is the elliptic track that it's taken through our solar system. It does look calculated, and it doesn't look like something just speeding through the through our solar system. It seems like it's taking a predetermined path, and then that, of course, that opens up all kinds of dismissive comments from the online community when you make that comment. But please, just if you could just go over a couple of the things that have you guys intrigued.
Mhm. Well, I've done a lot of research on this, and so before I go over some, I should just say, check out his Medium blog. His articles there. He's got a
Wonderful.
running list of articles on there that are really closely following the progress, and the knowledge that we're learning about 3i Atlas. So with that said, there's a number of anomalies. Obviously, one of them is the size. It's, I think, over 5 kilometers in size, so it's really massive. Um, it's it's uh, it's very fast. Um, it's got a very unusual chemical composition as well. The plume around it is supposedly showing a lot more nickel than iron, and that's kind of a hallmark for some sort of industrial process. Um, and most comets typically have like carbon dioxide that's been outgassed. We didn't see a cometary tail for a very long time. What we saw was an anti-tail, Albie likes to call it. So something, usually what happens with comets is as they're racing towards the sun, you have the front of the comet heating up from solar radiation and the particles, and it'll cause some of the outer layers of the comet to thaw, to melt, and that will uh, cause them to like basically turn to gas and cause a tail in the opposite direction, pointing away from the sun. And you can see it quite easily. You go, okay, that's definitely a comet. The process is called outgassing. Um, but we didn't see this really with 3I Atlas. We we saw a little kind of bubble in front of it, which is very unusual because you should see it behind, not in front. So there's a few different, I guess, speculations about what that might be. The most prominent is I guess, that there's some heating in the front of the object, and it's just enough to produce some particles in front, but not enough, not heavy enough to be pushed out the back to form a tail. What else? Yes, the
Because
trajectory.
it's not close enough to the sun yet, or
Well, actually, that's a good point as well. So it's moving so fast as it's coming through the solar system that one theory as well is to explain why it doesn't have such a prominent tail is that because it's moving so fast, it hasn't had that time to heat up and cause that outgassing. So
interesting.
yeah, it could be that. Um,
And for an
which
object that's been traveling through the for how many billions of years,
we have
perhaps?
no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it could collect all kinds of debris as it's
yeah.
traveling through interstellar space, and maybe these are just some of the first particles to be able to be outgassed from that. I don't know.
Or it could be the end of its life, basically. It could have passed so many suns already that all the material on the outer crust has already been ablated. And so it doesn't have any more fuel to produce the tails. Um, so there's that. Then, of course, there's things like uh, the trajectory. So Avi has mentioned that it's going past three planets, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, I think, with like 0.05% or 0.005% likelihood of that happening.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's possible. It's just super unlikely, you know? So
Yeah.
scientists never work in absolute.
That's
Um,
true. That's true.
so it's hard to explain why that might be. Um, what else did Avi say? He also said that, yes, the plane that it's coming in with the ecliptic plane of the planets around the sun is within like 5 degrees or something. So which is again like a 0.2% likelihood. So it's coming in at a really shallow angle. Usually when hyperbolic objects such as uh, Oumuamua or Borisov, the second one, come in, they come in like a much more inclined angle. Um,
Angular. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, so it's unusual. It's currently out of our view, I believe, behind the sun, or maybe just
Right.
coming out. I can't remember. But
So
I
it's
also just
invisible.
saw,
It's basically invisible to us right now.
yeah, that's right, yeah. So it made its closest approach with Mars, I think, at the beginning of October.
Did we
Um,
get anything from that, or I heard him say something. It's not a conspiracy. I love this about him. It's not a conspiracy. It's just government dysfunction that hasn't been able to, really analyze what perhaps some of the equipment on Mars or in orbit of Mars have been able to determine or capture.
yeah, yeah, I don't think I've seen anything yet come from objects in orbit around Mars, but I believe that one of the rovers took picture. But you know, the thing is, the cameras on the rover, they're so small.
Yeah.
The, the object just is a small little dot in the camera field of view. Uh, we haven't really been able to get larger, closer ups of it. I think Avi at one point was proposing to use the Juno spacecraft, which is coming towards the end of its life. It's a spacecraft that's basically just looking at Jupiter the whole time. And Avi's proposal was for, let's stop looking at Jupiter. It's not going anywhere. It's not changing really. Let's just take a look at 3i Atlas as it comes by. I mean, how often do one of these things come to our solar system? And it's a massive opportunity for science. So let's do it. But ultimately, I don't think they did that.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a wonderful swan song for something that's at the end of its life to be able to capture something like that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
The there was years ago, this also fascinated me. There was something called the wow signal.
Hmm.
And I saw that he had written, by the way, I want to echo what you said about his Medium column.
Hmm.
Don't watch these YouTube videos. Don't watch even the interviews that he does on the Fox affiliates around the country. I
Hmm.
think he does that just to generate some interest in what you guys are doing. Read those articles. They're very deep. Read the published. I don't know. Are your papers peer reviewed at this point?
Yeah, most of them are peer reviewed. Yeah, if they're on archive,
Please.
it means that they're going into peer review.
Yeah, not easy to read. But certainly with AI, you can type in a phrase and find out what that means. That's, you
Sure.
know, one of the wonderful things about AI. But do that for your background. This is me talking to the audience. Don't rely on these sensationalist YouTube videos. They will take you off track. The stuff that Galileo has come up with here is so mind-bending. I don't know how else to say it. The wow signal, if I read one of his recent papers or I guess articles, he talked about how it seems like this object may have originated from the same general area as that wow signal that we received back in what was it, 1979, something like that. Um,
77.
77. Can you talk a little bit about that? Or
I mean, I think you probably know as much as me at this point on
okay,
because that's a very recent article that's come out. But yes, I think Avi said that it's coming from the rough direction of where the WoW signal supposedly came from in 1977, and I think he put 0.6% likelihood that of that happening. So there's
yeah,
all these anomalies, all these little telltales, these signals. Like, what is this thing? And it could all be coincidences.
right.
It's totally possible. We can't take that off the table until we actually have undeniable proof, which we don't yet
It,
have.
it, and to his credit, the last article that I read on Medium, he highlighted, he highlighted in the end, this could very well just be a comet. I mean, as if to emphasize, I'm not saying it's something crazy. I'm saying open your mind. And I find everything that you guys are involved with right now just fascinating. How can how can people get involved with can I use the phrase freaking aliens? How can the general public get involved either to help or to access one of these devices once they're made available? What's the game plan? I
Well,
know I would volunteer right off the bat. How can I help? I would love to be somebody that's assisting you guys at this point.
yeah, that would be very much appreciated. We're not funded other than a private donation right now for basically building a prototype. So the people that who are on the project are working as volunteers. You can go to www.freakingaliens.com, and that's the website. It's still very much under construction. It was put together very quickly, so please don't judge. It will likely evolve a lot as time goes and as the project itself evolves. Um, there's a lot of people we could mostly, I think, for the moment, we need help from artists, from people who are good generating media content to help us get the word out there. Business strategy. I'm not a businessman. I'm a scientist. So if you are more aligned with the business side of things, I could definitely use some help on that front.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with coding, we are still in the early stages of building our code base out. So if you are a skilled programmer, preferably with experience using Python and Robot
Yeah.
Operating System, ROS, that would be fantastic. But I should also say that these same people that we're looking for here, you know, if you're watching this and you're interested, you can get involved as well in the Galileo project. The entire Galileo project, except for a lucky 5 or 6 people, who are being paid, are volunteers, people who have an interest in what we're doing and have some free time, maybe more than 5 or 10 hours a week, and are looking to get involved. So if you're one of those people, please, we can reach out to me. You can reach out to Avi. You can go to the website. There's a volunteer form there, I think. Yeah, and we
What
can have a
type of
chat.
skill sets are you looking for there with Galileo? Scientific?
Well, mostly like system engineers, programmers, people who had experience with things like NVIDIA Jetsons, which are these small mini computers, edge devices, people who are good with setting up networks, um, uh, people who are good with media, generating media content and images, helping to raise awareness about the Galileo project. I think there's a lot of people who aren't familiar with what we're doing, and that also might drive some of the discourse online. Um, we also need someone to help more communicate, I think, with the general public, because a big misconception is that we've been operating for 3 years. Where's the data? Why don't we see where's the aliens? Why aren't you guys showing us anything? And people will, oh, you're part of the government. It's you're covering it up. You're hiding the data, and it's nonsense. It's a
Right.
really slow, methodical process. We have to do this scientifically because we have to collect the data, we have to analyze it, we have to calibrate and thoroughly test all our instrumentation, and then we have to publish our papers, have to write them up, which is a long, arduous process itself, and then wait for peer review. And sometimes that takes a few iterations before it gets through peer review. It's a very long process, and people need to be patient. So we need people who are really good at communicating as well to help us on that front. Um, Web developer, we could really use somebody who's got some background in developing for the web to help us
Interesting.
with our website. Um,
Okay.
WordPress specifically. Um,
You said WordPress?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a bunch of roles, and I think anyone who wants to get involved should just reach out, and maybe your skill set not ideal right now, but maybe it will be in the future. So
See,
I don't know.
I don't think the general public know that that's an option for them. They think this is clouded in academia, and the truth is, you guys could use some volunteer help. And I'll go on record as saying I'd like to do whatever I can to help you guys out. I'll talk to you about that after. Um, is there anything else you wanted to cover? You've been extremely generous with your time and very patient with my non-scientific questions. But it's important that people take the time. This is such a crazy time in our country right now, in the world, and we're on the precipice of something that could that is just amazing. And for us to dismiss it or not have the time to think about it is really a crime, is criminal, in my opinion. And it's you don't have to be a scientist, you don't have to be a somebody. You have to have an imagination. That's all. You have to think outside the box. How many things have come from Star Trek through the years? How many things have that came from a writer's knowledge, not a scientific background, Gene Roddenberry, but yet so many devices have been created based on that science fiction. And I think people miss that point that a lot of stuff has come from science fiction. It ends up becoming science. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Richard? It's been a fascinating, it's gone by way too quickly. I could talk to you for hours, but You've been extremely generous with your time. I hope you'll let us visit with you again, perhaps sometime in November and December. We might have some more data available to us about Three-Eye Atlas, and give my regards to everybody, including Avi. It's been terrific having you. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on here. And yes, I'll certainly keep you updated if we hear any more news about Three-Eye Atlas. Um, and I would just like to say, I guess, to everyone, when you're looking online, when you're reading, when you see an article, a headline, a tweet, or whatever, don't react on emotion. That's the first thing people always do is they act emotionally. Just if you catch yourself acting emotionally, just take a step back, recalibrate. Why am I feeling like this? And dig deeper into the article itself. See, like maybe it's not so crazy because there are a lot of weird things happening out in the world that we just don't understand and don't know. We all here trying to learn it as we go. Some people we're all making mistakes as we go. So just be patient and consider that maybe there is something out there that we're not aware of flying around, and keep an open mind. Just don't have this knee-jerk reaction.
Keep an open mind. That's a great way to end this. Uh, Dr. Cloete, thank you so much. You're a wonderful resource. I will reach back out to you, and I would like to help wherever I can with to volunteer my assistance. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day. Okay,
Thank you. You too. Nice to meet you.
very nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.